Hello, students. So, today we will start a new lesson from class 6 supplementary reader, chapter 3, the shepherd's treasure. In this lesson, we will see what treasure the shepherd has. So, in the first part, we will see a poor shepherd who lived in Iran. Though uneducated, he was very wise and helpful. Then the king he decided to meet him in disguise. These things we will see, okay, in detail. So, in a village in Iran, there once lived a shepherd. He was very poor. He did not even have a small cottage of his own, and he had never what been to school of or learned to read and write. For why it is so? For there were no schools in those days, or we can say few schools in those days. That's why he could not get that chance. Now, though poor and uneducated, this shepherd was very wise. He understood people's sorrows. Sorrows means sadness and troubles, the difficulties. He understands the people's sorrows and sadness, and what he did, he helped them face their problems with courage and with their common sense. He helped he helped the people to face their problems with courage. And many people, what they did, they come uh, to take advice from him, and soon he became very famous in his place. Then one day, the king of that country, he heard about him. He heard about his wisdom and friendly nature. Then he thought of meeting that shepherd. Then one day, the king, in disguise as a shepherd, he'll wear all the dresses of a shepherd, and he look like a shepherd, and he ride on a mule, and he came to the cave where the shepherd live, wise shepherd live. As soon as the shepherd he saw the traveler who was coming towards his cave, he rose to welcome him. He stood, okay, the shepherd he stood, and he welcomed the king. I can say here the traveler. So he welcomed him and took him inside the cave, gave him water to drink, and he also shared of his little meal. And the king, for a while, he rested, and he rested for the night also in the cave, and he was greatly impressed by the shepherd's hospitality and wise conversation. He was so much good, the shepherd, by all this, how he welcome, how he talks with the guest, the way he welcomed the guest, the traveler. But with this, the king, he was what he was impressed by the shepherd's hospitality and his very wise conversation. So again, in the second part, we will see the shepherd was now able to make out that the visitor was none other than what, the king himself. The king then made the wise shepherd governor of a small district. Then the others, the governors, they became jealous of the new governor and called him uh, dishonest. So how all this will happen, we will see here in detail. Though still tired, the king decided to depart the next morning. He was still tired, but he decided to depart the next morning. Then he said, he has given thanks to uh, the shepherd for his kindness to a poor traveler. So he said that he had a long way to go, so he uh, now would leave. So he was asking the permission from the shepherd. Then, looking straight to the into the eyes of the guest, the shepherd replied, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for paying me the compliment of a visit." Now he understood, he recognized that the shepherd, the traveler who came there in his cave was none other than but the king. So he recognized the king. The king was astonished as well as pleased also. He is indeed very wise. He thought to himself. He was thinking that the king was very much astonished, very much surprised, and very as well as happy also. Why? He is indeed a very wise man. He was thinking to himself. Now, he also thought that he need people like him to work for him in his court, in his kingdom. Now, as the king appointed this humble shepherd the governor of a small district, he appointed this humble, this kind shepherd, this wise shepherd, the governor of a small district. Then, although he rose to power and dignity, the shepherd he remained as humble as ever. So he has now achieved everything, right? The power, he also get the dignity also. He also get dignity, respect. Now, but you see, some people after getting so much responsibility, the power, the dignity, what they become, they should not remain as humble how they were before. But here the shepherd remained as humble as ever, how he was before, before becoming this governor of a small district. How he was, we can find him now also as humble. Now people loved him and honored him for his wisdom, sympathy, and goodness. He was such a kind and just to one and all. He was not that only looking for one particular person. He is giving importance to everyone. His fame as a fair and wise governor soon spread throughout the country. Now his name, no, as a fair and wise governor, this he became very famous as a governor, wise governor, and this spread throughout the country. Then now the governors of other provinces, like the other areas, the governors of other areas, uh, they were growing, they grew terribly jealous. They become jealous of him and began to talk to the king against him. Somebody they say this and that, and someone again comes, they complain against this new governor, because they were jealous of him. So they said he is very dishonest. What they said? The governors of other provinces, they said that he became very dishonest and he keeps for himself part of the money that he collects as a tax from the people. And they were saying to the king that he keep money, he keep part of the money from where, how he get that money that he collects as a tax from the people. So whatever the money he collect as a tax from the people, he used to keep that money. So the people, when to make the king believe them, they also added one thing, that the shepherd he always used to carry an iron chest with him. They added this. Why why did he always carry with him an iron chest? What was that iron chest? We will see afterwards, right? Perhaps he carried it, the treasure that he had secretly collected. So governors of other provinces, they were saying that the iron chest he always carries with him, because all the treasures, whatever the money he had collected from the people, it is there in the chest. The treasure, the money, the jewels, the golds, everything, it is there in the iron chest. Perhaps he carried in it the treasure. So after all, they said, it was an ordinary shepherd, and how could behave no better? How and could behave no better? So they were also saying that he was an ordinary shepherd, so he did not know how to behave as a governor. So they became jealous of him and saying this and that. So now in the last part we will see the new governor was called to the palace. Now the new governor means the shepherd. He was called in the palace. Then he was ordered to explain why he always carried an iron chest with him. Then the chest contained no gold or silver, and at the end we will find the chest that he carried with him contained no gold. So how it is, we will see in the third part. Okay, at first the king did not pay any attention to these reports, but the governors, they keep on telling all the stories, and for that the king could not ignore these governors. And one thing was very certain, the king had to discover what was the matter. Now the king, the new governor did carry an iron chest with him all the time. Why it is so? So one day the new governor was summoned to the palace. Someone means called. The king, he called the new governor to the palace. Now the new governor means the shepherd, he came riding on his camel, and to everyone's delight, the famous iron chest was there. Now also that iron chest, it was there with him, securely behind him on the camel's back. The iron chest, it was there on the behind him on the camel's back. Now the king was very angry to see all these things, and he angry with him, and he asked, why you carry that iron chest with you all the time? What does it contain? Now he thundered, he angry with him, and he ordered to open and show what was there in the iron chest. The governor, he smiled. He asked his servant to bring in the chest. Now he sent someone to bring in the chest. Then how eagerly the people, they were standing there, and they were waiting for the shepherd to be found out that he was keeping all the treasures there in the iron chest. They were curiously waiting for the shepherds to be found guilty. Now but how great was their astonishment! The people, they were surprised now after seeing that the iron chest, when it was open, there was no gold, no silver, no jewels, but only what it was there, an old blanket was there. Now the shepherd, holding the old blanket it up, he proudly said, "This, my dear master, is my only treasure. This is my only treasure." So he proudly said, "This is my only treasure. I always carry it with me." He said this. What he saw in the iron chest, when it opened, there what contained in the chest, an old an old blanket. And the shepherd, he said proudly that this is his only treasure. He always carry it with him. But The king asked, "Why do you carry such an ordinary blanket with you all the time? You are not now a shepherd, you are a governor of a district," the king said to the shepherd, means the new governor. Now, to which the shepherd he replied with quite dignity and said, "This blanket is my oldest friend. It will always protect me if at any time, no, at any time, this blanket protect him." Then he also said, "Your Majesty should wish to take away my new clothes." Now, how pleased the king was, and how embarrassed the jealous governors became to hear the wise man's reply. Now, they knew that the shepherd was indeed the humblest and the wisest man in the land. Then the king he made the governor of a much bigger district that very day. So you have seen here how the other governors who were jealous about him, they how embarrassed they became, and after knowing that, after seeing in the iron chest it contained only an old blanket, and by what hearing the humblest and the wisest reply from the shepherd, from the new governor, so then the king he the made him the governor of a much bigger district that very day. So this much only in these lessons. Hope you have understood. So here some questions are there. These questions answers I will provide you afterwards. In the next class we will see the next lesson, that is lesson 4. Then lesson 3 and lesson 4 notes I will give you together. So today this much only. Hope you have understood. So stay at home, study your book. Thank you very much.